The president has done more to secure the border and to deal with this issue of immigration than anybody else.
Why are so many Americans looking to pay special?
Gaslighting 101 from Joe Biden and his administration. Also, BLM is back, and the reason why is interesting at best. Will Trump's court dates be televised? News out of Fulton County on that. And the climate change crazies, not very much talkative on one particular issue going around in Europe. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks for tuning in on today. It is Tuesday, September 5th, year of our Lord 2023. Hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. Great to be back with you. Lots of stuff to go over, especially that happened Friday and then also into the weekend. Gaslighting 101. Now, okay, the reason why I wanted to bring up gaslighting is because I feel like, especially if I'm judging by how people use the term on the internet, I think there's a lot of people that are not necessarily using this word correctly, gaslighting. If you kind of just think about it, you're like putting fuel on the fire, making things worse. That's not what it means, but that's the way a lot of people use it. So I kind of briefly at the onset of this wanted to go over what the term actually is, where it comes from, and then also give you some glaring examples of what gaslighting is. Again, I think a lot of people misuse it of like, you're lighting the fuels of hatred, of flames, and fueling the flames and all that. No. What it is an old-timey quote back when people had gaslit lamps. The story goes is a husband first of all, the lamps were at 100%. All of the gaslit lamps around the house were at 100%. And then he'd go and turn them down just a little bit to like 90%. And nobody would notice because he wouldn't notice that. And then the next night, he would turn them down to like 80%. And his wife would say, "Are these lights getting dimmer in this room?" And he's like, "No, what are you talking about? It's the same amount of brightness." And then the next night, he'd turn it down to 70% of the actual brightness. And it's definitively dimmer in the room. And his wife would say, "Is it dimmer in this room?" And he'd say, "No, what are you talking about?" And that process would continue on and so forth until the wife would be questioning whether or not what she's seeing is real and the validity of what's around her. She knows that it's getting darker in the room, but is being assured, no, it's the same amount of brightness. What are you crazy? And in the process, you convince a person who knows what's going on is not what they're being told. And that person then starts to question their own reality, question their own beliefs, and question the validity of their own thoughts. That's what gaslighting is. It's not putting fuel on the flames. That's not what it is. It is trying to convince somebody else that what they see is not actually happening. Okay, make sense? We're defining that term correctly. Okay. Now that you have a good understanding of what gaslighting is, or at least a re-understanding, I'm sure a lot of you probably already knew that, I want to give some glaring examples of the Biden administration gaslighting the American people as much as they can. The first clip I thought was the best. This is KJP, the White House press secretary. I'm noticing we're getting a little bit of a delay on the video, so you might not be able to see it, but you will be able to hear it. What she says is gaslighting 101, the definition of what this is. Watch this. It's like 7 seconds if it plays. If not, just listen to it.
The president has done more to secure the border and to deal with this issue of immigration than anybody else. He really has.
during a press conference, I believe that was Friday, KJP said, you heard her, the president has done more to stop illegal immigration at the border than anyone else. Which, of course, is hilarious. Like, you can say, well, it's just a lie. And yes, it is. But at the same time, it's bigger than that. It is the attempt to create this narrative that, no, Joe Biden has been a hardliner on illegal immigration at the border the entire time. What are you talking about? In an attempt to gaslight the American people and the American voters specifically into thinking, wait a minute, hold on. I saw floods of illegal immigrants come into the country. But the administration, they wouldn't lie to us. They're saying, no, that's not happening. It's gaslighting 101. They're trying to get people to question what they see around them, even though they have a pretty solid understanding of what's going on in front of their very eyes. Now, this example, I think, is better. Joe Biden attempting to gaslight the people by giving a big, rousing economics speech. Now, we're not going to get much of the clips of the speech because it doesn't say anything that we haven't heard before. He touts Bidenomics is the best thing since sliced bread, which, coincidentally, Joe Biden was alive for. I think sliced bread actually happened after Joe Biden was born. Like prepackaged sliced bread. I want to say it was like the 30s, but I think Joe Biden was alive when that happened. So anyways, him saying Bidenomics is just fantastic. Bidenomics is working. It's doing great. And then when it comes to taking questions to defend that point, this happens. Watch this.
Why are so many Americans living paycheck to paycheck?
Foreign business partners. So Americans living. Will you give your bank records to Congress, President Biden?
Governor DeSantis tomorrow.
Yeah. Will you give your bank records to Congress?
Are you worried about student loan payments?
And there he goes. Refusing to take questions, touting the idea that, Bidenomics is working. Now, if you just listen to the president and are not living under a rock, if you are living under a rock and you just listen to the president of the United States, you'd think, yeah, I guess the economy is going really, he said it's going really well. And yet, the president wouldn't just outright lie to us, would he? Well, get this. New polling came out, the Lending Bank Club, this is reported on in Fox News, all income brackets now living paycheck to paycheck, study finds. 61% of U.S. consumers are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, there's a lot that could go into that, but overall, broad terms, 30,000-foot view, I would say that if you have more than half of the country living paycheck to paycheck, which now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm a quibbler and I like quibbling with these types of things, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Does that mean that you're, we probably have a pretty good understanding of what that means, is there's not enough money in the bank for people to live, quote unquote, comfortably outside of their paycheck to paycheck. But 61% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck and feeling the high prices of all of the various things, the various commodities that we buy every single day. And Joe Biden saying, Bidenomics is working, everything is fine. That is what we call gaslighting, my friends. And it's more than a lie, right? A lie is difficult to separate from a spin, and then you've got spinning. Just a flat-out gaslighting statement is what is happening now at the administration, trying to make people think, well, wait a minute, everything that I'm seeing is worse. Is the economy actually better? This ethereal thing called the economy. Well, the president's saying the economy is great. I don't feel great. I'm getting taxed out the wazoo. Groceries are way more expensive. Gas is way more expensive. Everything is way more expensive. Housing is way more expensive. But the president says the overall economy is doing well. So that's probably true. No. Trust your gut. You're being gaslit. by the leader of the free world. And that is that. I wanted to make sure that we have a better understanding of what gaslit means or gaslighting means, because I think a lot of people on the internet are not using that term correctly. Here's another thing regarding the 61% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Anna says this: live below your means. Yes. That's really the other simple solution there. Yes, is the administration and the government overall not making things better by continuing to pump money into the system, which is continuing to pump inflation through the roof? Yes. And also, there should be some responsibility falling on the American people to say that, maybe don't go spend so frivolously. The economy is still overheated because a lot of people are spending money that they probably shouldn't spend, and probably the reason why people are living paycheck to paycheck, which is not a great time to be going on a comedy tour, which is not a necessity. And anyways, that's what I'm doing. But then less about that, less about me. Geez, a bunch of comments. I wish I could get to more of these. Let's see. I want to get to this. This is actually going to be kind of interesting. Out of Fulton County last week is this update. The Trump indictment in Fulton County, Georgia, the prosecutors, or I guess the judge and the courts, are now saying that the Trump trial will be televised and streamed. Now, that's really all of the information there is there, but I want to tease out a few things. Well, really, the bottom line there is that is going to be an S show. All of the coverage is going to be going to Donald Trump. And here's what I think is fascinating about this whole thing. If the lefty side of the country, we'll just say Democrats in general, think that Donald Trump is going to ruin America if he's elected again, wouldn't you then not want to give him the opportunity to run for president as the Republican nominee for president? And here's what I mean by that. If you think he's so bad, wouldn't you not want to give him more publicity? I mean, this is just, I'm thinking out loud. The televised Trump trial will suck up all of the headlines, all of the coverage, every news station in America. And I think it's happening, I forget what trial's happening when. It's like it starts the day before Super Tuesday. In other words, Trump will be all over the news all the time. 100% of the coverage will be fixed on him, and he will walk away with the Republican nomination, in which case Democrats are betting that they can beat him in a general. Now, if you actually thought that he was so dangerous and not just trying to use him to tactfully put yourself in a position to win political races, if you actually thought he was such a big threat, would you be giving him the amount of publicity that they're giving him? In the same way, remember, Nancy Pelosi, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people way smarter than me, after January 6th, immediately after, could have passed a broad impeachment and could have had the votes in the Senate to convict and remove, which would have barred Donald Trump from ever running for president ever again. Now, Nancy Pelosi, all of your Democrat politicians claim that Donald Trump is the worst thing to ever happen. And yet, when they had the opportunity to impeach him on a broad strokes indictment, dereliction of duty, just a simple dereliction of duty, on January 7th, she would have had the votes in the Senate to convict and remove and bar him from running for president again. But they didn't. Remember, they say, well, this man is the boogeyman, the worst thing to ever happen. We have to stop him at all costs. And then when given a chance to stop him, they didn't do it. Why? Remember, then several weeks go by, 2 weeks go by, Nancy Pelosi issues a very hyper-specific impeachment indictment that said, what was it? Inciting an insurrection, which is like, dude, you can't. Nobody could actually vote for that in good conscience and say, like, yes, I believe that he specifically planned and caused all of this. Now, so instead of getting rid of what they continually claim to be the biggest threat to American democracy, they decided to punt and use him again for politics. And I can't help but think that this is the same thing going on in Fulton County. If you think that the Trump televised trial in Fulton won't confirm his nomination to the Republican Party nominee for president and give him a 50-50 shot at winning the presidency again, you're just wrong. That's what it's going to do. And if you claim that you want him gone and he is the biggest threat to democracy, wouldn't you not do that? Anyways, it's going to be primetime reality TV. As entertainment value, I cannot wait. Is it good for the country? Absolutely not. But as someone who loves to be entertained, I am actually very excited for this. To think that this is going to damage him in any way, shape, or form is not going to. The Trump team is fantastically smart and will be able to use a lot of those one-liners in the courtroom to gain massive amounts of free attention. But, you know, such is the state of American politics. And speaking of the state of American politics, I want to get to this because this is actually kind of a fascinating thing. Now, I guess I'll say this: viewer discretion advised. This is the video that we're going to show second. The AP is from the AP, the Associated Press. They did blurt out the actual shot, but an incident happened. Oh shoot, Ohio, I think, in which a young woman was shot in the car. Happened to be a black woman. I don't know what the race of the officers were. It doesn't matter in my opinion. But the fact that it was a young black woman who happened to be pregnant sparked protests throughout various parts of the country, but I think specifically where this happened. Now, I'll go without saying, it is horribly sad that anybody got shot, and especially the unborn child in her also suffered the worst possible fate. That shouldn't have to be said, that it's horribly sad, regardless of what you like. You know, I happen to be of the opinion that you know, you can't do that and expect to have a good outcome. You can't do what she did and expect to have a good outcome. But even aside from that, it's still terribly sad. So again, that shouldn't need to be said, but such are these weird times. I feel like I have to say it. Anyways, here's a clip of the BLM. The BLM is back and back on the scene. And here's just a quick clip of them protesting in the streets. Watch this. Yeah, so that's that. Again, big protest. And then the chant that I think is, you know, at what point does that chant become a threat? The whole no justice, no peace. We all saw the mostly peaceful protests after the George Floyd stuff. We saw the destruction around the country. And then really nobody get punished for it. But not to relitigate that. I don't know. Is this going to be a nationwide thing? I don't think so, because the body cam footage was released, and I'm going to show it to you in a second, but I don't know, you decide. Let me know in the comment section what you think if this... Did you think that incident, again, tragic and horrible, would have sparked this? To set the scene really quick, because I don't know if you'll be able to read it, especially if you're just listening. one of the people, a person coming out of a store, I think it was a grocery store, said, "Hey, this person is shoplifting." The cops go up to her car. They happen to be in the parking lot already. They go up to her car, say, "Hey, please get out of the car." Do all the things that cops say. And one of the cops stood in front of the car, which, again, one of my other cop friends said that's not a good idea. But then ended up shooting through the car when she hit the accelerator. And, well, watch the video and then we'll discuss.
Seven back in service, 1828.
Get out of the car. Then get out. No, then get out.
Get out of the car.
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 The video shows the officer standing in front of the car, shooting her through the windshield with one shot.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Stop the car. Stop. Stop. Car.
We're going to have a 34 on the crossing route. He's going to be at.
Yeah. So, goes without saying, horribly sad situation. Nobody wants to see that happen. But also, I don't think it matters what the race of the person is, or the gender of the person, or the age of the person, or the fact that she happened to be pregnant. Again, all sad. Nobody's saying, haha, yeah. Literally nobody is saying that. But also, if a police officer is telling you to do something and he's standing in front of your car, maybe don't hit the gas. And again, I'm not trying to sound like sarcastic and snarky, but I don't know. Who is to blame here? Who actually is to blame? In my opinion, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, I would blame all of the sources that put into that young woman's head, the police are out to get you. Because that's clearly, I think, probably what she thought. Is that the police are going to kill you, so you might as well try and make a run for it. Because that's what's, in my view of it, that's the type of thing, that's the type of rhetoric that's being put out in a lot of your, I don't know, mainstream media. The police are out to kill black people. Of course that's not true. The estimation of, I should have pulled the statistic up, but there was some study, I think it was probably in the midst of the George Floyd riots, where they asked everyday Americans how many black people or unarmed black people are killed by cops every year. And the guess was like 10 to 20 times higher than what the reality was. Because there's this media narrative circling around that clearly cops will kill you if you are a racial minority. And if that is in your head, you will do dumb things like hit the gas when a cop is in front of your car. Again, I wish none of this happened. It is a terrible tragedy any way you look at it. But if we're looking at how decisions are made in the moment, I think a lot of light can be shed on the narrative and the rhetoric going through a lot of your mainstream media. If you actually believe that the cops are evil and racist and out to get you, I think that's when and only when you make decisions like that. Other than maybe there were some other reasons why she didn't want to get caught by the cops. Maybe there was some other, I don't know. But again, horribly sad. Wish it didn't happen. But yeah. Let's see. There's a bunch of comments in the comment section that I think are kind of interesting. There's people oh, shoot. I should have pulled this video. Well, I don't know if I want to talk about this because it's stupid. There's some people in the comment section talking about the Nazis that were marching in Florida over the weekend. And wow, people are using this for like big political points, like, oh, look at Nazis are in Florida. The left is saying there are Nazis in Florida that are marching in the streets, and then people on the right are saying the Nazis were supporting Joe Biden, which is a video clip that I don't know. I don't know why I didn't want to bring that on here. It's just a bunch of garbage, a bunch of crazy people doing crazy things, and both sides are yanking it towards their side. If you want to see that video, you can go look it up. Look it up on Twitter or X or whatever. But it's a bunch of crazy people walking around Florida saying white power, and they're just a bunch of dumbos. And then there's a video clip of one of the guys who doesn't have a mask, coincidentally, saying, I support Joe Biden. He's better than Trump. And so it's a whole, both sides are trying to use it. I think they're a bunch of crazy, deranged people that shouldn't be given the attention. So in the comment section, if that's what you're looking for or wondering, that's why we didn't bring it on. Things that I thought were actually kind of interesting too, though. Moving on entirely from the racial divide in America, is this. I want to play this clip. It's rather long. It is a Washington Post reporter on a podcast and not taking a question from the host regarding Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family very nicely. I want to just play this clip in its entirety. It's kind of long, but I want you to watch it. I think it's interesting. I think it is pretty telling of some of the media's attempt to never question anything that Joe Biden does ever. But watch this. We'll discuss briefly on the other side before we hop off. Check it out.
What do you take from the text message to his adult daughter? Hunter's text message, I have to give 50% of my income to Pop.
I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means.
Well, it's
I know it's circumstantial evidence, and you prefer that.
No,
to
what could it be?
I have no idea.
But doesn't
I don't know.
Well,
I appreciate your.
Has anybody asked her?
I don't know. I don't know.
Don't you think somebody should ask her?
Okay. Like I'm not. I just said I don't know, and I don't know what to make of it, so I have nothing to say about it.
Yeah,
what do you want me to say?
Yeah, but you say there's no evidence, but then there's a text message where he says, "I give Pop 50% of my money." That's evidence.
Okay. Well, okay, fine.
So
it's evidence. I appreciate you having me on.
It doesn't. Something like that. Who do you think is being more? I listen to that and I'm saying,
Am I?
You can free to go.
I feel you want me to leave, like just walk out in the middle of this because that way you can
you can go.
Right.
Is this a standard? Really, this is the way the Washington Post handles people who disagree with them.
When I agree to be on for 45 minutes, and then
go.
I get on for an hour and 15. Yeah, that after a while I go.
Go.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So, I mean, that kind of is pretty self-explanatory, which I think is why Hunter is not a bigger deal. Innocent by apathy. Now, whether or not he actually does know, I don't know. Maybe he actually just benefited the doubt. Maybe he's like, I don't know anything about this. I don't want to talk about it. But at the end of the day, how? How do you not know anything about this? I know all of the knocks that lefties have on Donald Trump, and well, maybe not all of them in granular detail, but some of the stuff that they'll bring up that if I don't know it, it's this like, well, so-and-so did this in this date, and this is like this minuscule thing that you're like, yeah, why would I know that? Because it seems like cannon fodder for your lefty television networks. The Hunter Biden story is a massive story. It is huge, regardless who you are. The president's son allegedly taking bribes from the then from all people all over the world, and then changing things, policy or otherwise, and cutting in the then vice president. That is a big story no matter which way you cut it. I know all of the big stories that the lefties have against Donald Trump. Don't you think you should have some context, some sense of what's going on at all? Now, I get it if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But at the same time, that does kind of lead us all to the point that we're all making of, yeah, you guys are just protecting the guy. That sure is what it looks like, dude. And I forget this guy's name. But if for some reason he wants to come on and talk about it, that's fine. I would love to have him. We don't really do many guests on this show anymore, but maybe we should. I've been meaning to have more like long form kind of conversations with people, and then air parts of them on here. But I don't know. I get busy, kind of lazy. But just, I don't know, interesting. The fact that there's, Jody says, that left just completely denying and lying. That's what it looks like, dude. Maybe you genuinely have no idea, but also how. Anyways, that'll do it for us today. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. It was pointed out to the other day by my wife that the link clickers thingies on my social media accounts I've been saying, go to my social media stuff if you want tickets to any of the tour dates that we have coming up. We're in Fallbrook, September 23rd. Van Buren, Arkansas, October 6th. Tulsa, Oklahoma, October 7th. Nashville's October 11th, I think, but that's not for sale yet. Twin Falls, Idaho, November 17th. You can find all of those on my social media accounts. But the thing is, I've been saying that for a long time. And then my wife the other day said, hey, one of our friends asked where they can get tickets to this thing. It's not on any of your social media accounts. I said, oh, shoot, I guess I should probably add that. So now, if you click the little link on my Instagram thing, it'll take you to the tour dates, and you can buy tickets there if you so choose, if we are coming to your neck of the woods. But yeah. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, probably. And I say the probably thing because, as many of you know, I have a 1-month-old. And sometimes, just so happens that she's a handful right when we're getting ready for the show. And so, like on, Friday of last week, it just didn't work out. Had a lot of stuff planned, a lot of stuff prepped, and didn't get to make it out here, but such is life as a new father, I guess. So we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, probably. God bless America.